Hi, I'm Danielle,
I'm Simon.
and we bought a train.
That's kind of on me. That was my fault.
So, our local railway museum unfortunately went into receivership a few years ago, and they had a whole load of ex-Southern Aurora carriages.
And they weren't going to use them anytime soon. They were quite expensive to run, quite, a big undertaking.
Yep.
And so we thought we'd take it on. If they didn't get preserved by us, then they were going to be turned into farm sheds. We thought the best way to preserve them was actually to design some really, really good rail tours around regional New South Wales and to actually run trains using these sleeping carriages. So that's what we've done. Biggest thing we want is for our guests to have a great time.
Yep.
Everything we do is designed with the guest in mind and make sure that they have the connection with people in regional New South Wales and really get to enjoy what New South Wales has to offer, both in terms of scenery and the amazing things that people are doing in regional New South Wales.
And we really love finding those stories, don't we? So you and I have had such a great time actually going into regional New South Wales and just talking to the amazing people that are out there, the producers, and the people on the farms that are doing some amazing things. And our guests are always interested in their stories.
Absolutely. And the history and the volunteers. A lot of our guests are volunteers at home. And they really connect with people who are in the regions, who are preserving history and keeping the memories and the special places alive.
Something amazing about getting out of the city and into the bush and really getting to know people and hearing their stories and eating their food and drinking their wine.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're private preservationists, so we're two individuals who are trying to preserve an icon of Australian rail transport history. So many people have memories of travelling on the Southern Aurora back from 1962 to 1986 when she was running in service, and it was the aspirational way to travel.
And there's not many sleeping trains around, are there?
Well, no, there's not. And certainly, a private sleeping train is something very special. So really, you've got the big transcontinental journeys. We tend to keep our journey time a little bit smaller.
Yep.
So we only travel during daylight hours. We don't travel at night time. We get a lot of good feedback from our guests that means they actually do get to sleep, because the reality of traveling at night is not the romance of the rail.
That's right.
It's not a great night's sleep.
Feel a little bit jet lagged after a night on the rails.
You do. So we stop at night. That gives us a number of advantages, not least being that you get to have a good night's sleep. But you can also go for a wander after dinner into town.
There's some amazing pubs around railway stations.
We've tested some of them. So that's a big difference. We tend to go for a bit longer, so guests really get into the rhythm of being on a bit of a rail cruise. And so we're 5 days and 4 nights. We stop for a good amount of time each day because we really want to see the best of what regional New South Wales has to offer. And we tend to go to things that you can't just drive your caravan and car up to. We try to find special connection with farmers on the Liverpool Plains or farmers in the Riverina, and some of the bespoke activities that we've been able to identify. So Barry was talking to us about coming on a rail tour, and he said, this is the first holiday that he's really having, because he's done hundreds of trips around Australia towing the caravan. But that was getting to a point where it was quite draining for him, because the responsibility of keeping the show on the road.
And then when you stop, you have to get your caravan sorted out, be able to come inside it and things. So
his comment was he'd done a lot of trips, but this was his first holiday. We were in charge. He was just going to follow along.
All of our tours are escorted, so there's always someone around to let you know what we're doing tomorrow, or get you on and off the bus, to meet new people. If you're traveling on your own, we can introduce you to the other guests that are around.
But I think that was the thing that Barry really said, was that this was an opportunity to see the countryside. He didn't tolerate going to sea, so cruising wasn't something for him because he got motion sickness. And so here was an opportunity where he could actually sit there and look out the window He could doze off if he wanted to. He could go stretch his legs. He could go to the lounge car and have a drink with other people.
Yeah.
And then he could go to the dining car and have a meal there. And it was all just so easy because you just unpacked all your stuff in your compartment, and that was you done for the next 5 days. We do design the tours so that we make sure that we do the off-train experience in the morning typically, and then move the train in the afternoon and perhaps into the early evening. So yeah, it all works rather nicely. I think the biggest thing we've focused on is that, if you're on a private train, it's an expensive exercise. There's no government subsidies. A sleeping train by definition doesn't have a lot of guests on board. And so it's expensive to come and join us on a trip, but we reckon it's worthwhile because it's the best way to see the countryside. But if you can afford to have an expensive holiday like this, you've got a story. You've lived a life that's rich in experience, and you've got a story. And most of our guest attendants actually come from a bit of a long haul flying background, and so our guests feel like they're in business class for the 5 days. And really, our big focus is that connection between our crew and our guests. And
we have amazing crew on board, and they are really focused on our guests having a great holiday. So they're really focused on customer service, but they do it in such a beautiful and genuine way. There's always time to have a chat, to find out what the guests have been up to during the day, and making people just feel really comfortable. The chef is always on board, so if anyone's got any special dietary requirements, there's not a problem with that at all. Chef really loves to make different meals for people to make sure that they're comfortable and they're having the kind of food that they really enjoy.
And Scotty's from the country, so Scotty's from Orange, and he loves having that connection with people, and actually getting to meet the guests and talk to them about their special requirements.
Absolutely.
So we bring in our own special crew for each tour. So it's not only an adventure for the guests, it's not only something special for the guests, it's their tour, but it's very special for the crew as well, because this is, something that they don't do all day, every day. It's not a grind. This is I get to go on the train, I get to meet these lovely guests, and it's an adventure for the crew as much as it is for the guests.